parts of the world, the lack of schools remains a pressing issue, especially in remote areas. But what if there was a solution that could pinpoint the exact locations where new schools are needed the most? Meet the dedicated education planners in Maldives who are stepping up to the challenge. Equipped with cutting-edge training on geospatial data, these individuals are harnessing the power of technology to tackle the lack of schools problem head-on.
Actually, before the training, we didn't have a systematic way of identifying the issues in terms of access to education in the Maldives. But after the training of the geospatial data, we have kind of been able to establish more of a technical or systematic approach to identify where there are gaps, particularly with respect to higher secondary education in the Maldives.
Using geospatial data software, these education planners can map out population densities, existing school locations, catchment areas, transportation infrastructure, and other crucial factors for the higher secondary cycle. By overlaying this information, they can identify underserved areas and prioritize them for new school construction.
According to our analysis, there is a significant gap in access to higher secondary education in these two atolls. By introducing A-level in these atolls, we can ensure that many children have access to higher secondary education from nearby islands.
Based on the findings of this study, the Ministry of Education realized the gap in the outer atolls for the higher secondary students, the access to education, especially in Alif Dar Atoll and Wow Atoll. So a policy decision was made to change and increase the accessibility for higher secondary students, allowing them to study in their native atolls and increase the accessibility for them. While the policy also highlighted and outlined the sustainability of higher secondary education throughout the country.
मी केवदु स्कूल की देहा से काविस वना हरुगा अलग ए लेवल की अवधि फैशन स्कूल दे मी अलग की अवधि मी फैशन स्कूल ए लेवल लो हिसाब अंगेरोगा प्रिंसिपल के हैसियत अंग सालोन बुनेलम बेनुमणि ए लेवल स्कूल गो फेदुमा की एगे साबु स्कूल वरगिन फायदा तक अलोन मना कोफिए एगोतु एमे फ्रतमालन फाहा कोलम बेनुमणि अलोन मगे टीचरुना मिया कुरियರು हकीगत टीचरुना ವರ ಬಡಂಗೆ ಬೇಫ್ಲುಂಗೆ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಪ್ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಕುರುಮ ಫುರ್ಸತ್ ಕುಳುವಾಲೆವಿಗೆ ಹಿಂಗಜ್ಜಿ ಎ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗೆ ಸಾಬು ಎ ಬೇಫ್ಲುಂಗೆ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ ಇತರ ಗ್ರೋವಾಂಗ್ ಎ ಬೇಫ್ಲುನ ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ ಮೆಣ್ಣ ಹೋದಾ ದೇವನು ಫುರ್ಸತೆಂಗ್ ಎ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಗೆ ಫೆಶುಮಕಿ ಏಗೆ ಸಾಬು ದೆಂಗ್ ಅಣೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ತಹಗೆ ದಾರಿ ವರುಂ ನಂಗ್ ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ ಮೆಣ್ ಫೋರ್ ಕೊದ್ದೆ ತಾವ್ಲಿ ಮಿತುರಂಗ್ ಹರದನಾವೆಗೆ ಹಿಂಗಜ್ಜಿ ದೇವನ ಕಮಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ ಫಾಹ ಕೊಲ್ಲಂ ಬೇನು ಮಣಿ ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ ಮೆಂಗೆ ಮೀ ದಾರಿ ವರುಂ ನಂಗ್ ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ ಮೆಣ್ಣ ಅಣೆ ಎಕಾಡೆಮಿಕಲಿ प्लस అది ఏగితోరం మీ స్పోర్ట్స్ యాక్టివిటీస్ తక అది కో కరిక్యులర్ యాక్టివిటీస్ తహ ఎకుదిన్న అనే నేషనల్ ముబారక్ తహ వాదకో ఏగ సాబుం తఫాత్ అకాడమీ తక అది తఫాత్ అసోసియేషన్ తకుగే ಕುಳಿವರ್ ಮುಬಾರಕ್ ತಕುಗ ಎಕುದಿಂಗೆ ಮುಸ್ತಕ್ಬಲ್ ಎಕ್ಕಲ ಕುಳಿವರ್ ಮುಬಾರಕ್ ತಕ ನೋತ ಕುಳಿವರ್ಗ ಕುರಿಯದ್ದಾಂ ಬೇಣುವಾ ದರಿವರ ಎ ಫುರ್ಸತ್ ಹೋದದಿ ಎಕುದಿನ್ ನಕಿ ತಿಬಿ ಬೈಕಂ ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ಮೆಂಗೆ ಮೀ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿ ತಕ ಮೀ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ತಕ ಅಂಗ දෙවිජ්ජක අනෙක්කමකි අල්ගොන්මෙන්න මේ ඒ ලෙවල්ග මේ දරිවරුන්ගේ ෆරාතුම් මිහාර ග්‍රේඩ් 11 12 නුලේ දරිවරුන්ගේ ෆරාතුම් අලොන්මගේ ග්‍රේඩ් 9 දිහෙගේ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕುದಿನ್ನವ್ವೆ ಸೆಕುದಿಂಗೆ ಫಿಲಾವಳತಂ ಇತರ ಮುಳು ಫಿಲವಾದಿನಮ ಮಿಕನ್ ತತ್ತೋಗ ಇಹೇತರಿಕಂ ಇಬಲಿಬೆ ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ಮೆಂಗೆ ಫುರ್ಸತ್ತ ಕುದಿನ ಹುಳುವಾದೆ ಮುಮಿದನಿ ಹೀಗೆ ಸಬಬು ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ಮೆಂಗೆ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ 9 ದಿಹೇಗೆ ದರಿವರುನ್ನವ್ವೆಸ್ ಇತರ ಎಕುದಿಂಗೆ ನತೀಜಾ ರಂಗಳ ಕುರ್ಮ ಫುರ್ಸತ ಕವ್ವೆ ಗೆಂಗೊಸ್ ಅದು ಏ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗೆ ದರಿವರು ಮಿಗುತ ಕುದಿನ್ನ ಕಿಯವದೆಂ ಫೆಶೀಮ ಮೀಗೆ ಸಬಬು ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ಮೆಂಗೆ ದರಿವರು ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೀಚಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ ಇಖ್ತಿಯಾರ್ ಕುರುಮುಗ ಇತರ ಕುದಿನ್ನ ಎಕಮುಗ ಶಾಗುವರಿ ಕಂಬಸ್ ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ್ಮೆನ್ನ ಮೀಗೆ ತೆರೆಂಗು ಬಫದ್ದಾದೆವೆ ಹೇಮ ಸ್ಕೂಲುಗ ಏ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಫೆಶಮಕಿ ಹಗೀಗತುಗೆ ಏಗೆ ಸಬು ಬರ ಗಿನ ಫෑದಾ ತಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲಶ ಅದಿ ದರಿವರುನ್ನ ಕುರಿ ಕಮೆಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತುಗ ಅಳ್ಗೊಂಡ ಹಮ್ ಫಾಹ ಕೊಲ್ಲ ಬೇನಮ್ಮ.
Well, through our learning cycle too, using geospatial data, we've identified a huge gap in our education system. This gap is very much related to providing higher secondary education in our country. These findings have actually made and helped our policymakers to take informed decisions regarding providing higher secondary education across different regions of the Maldives.
We are living in a time where there is no scarcity of data and evidence and scoping studies, but there's not much uptake of all this material that's out there. And we really believe that it would make a big difference if national policy experts and analysts are part of the production. This will drastically improve and increase the uptake of research evidence and expertise in education. So this is what it's all about, the learning cycles. And this one in particular shows how you can use data to resolve complex and recurring issues. It will have a huge impact on the students, on their lives, on their futures, but also on the lives of the teachers and the parents.
The second KIX EMAP Learning Cycle of a series that is currently on 7th edition was focused on the use of data, in this case geospatial data, for improved access in education. The topic of the use of data was identified by KIX EMAP national teams as one of the thematic priorities for Hub's work. With this in mind, for this learning cycle, the Hub partnered with UNESCO International Institute for Educational Planning.
By analyzing geospatial data, planners can allocate resources more efficiently and prioritize areas with the highest needs. This way, limited resources can maximize impact, allowing planners to strategically place new schools in locations that are easily accessible to the most vulnerable populations, for example, children in remote areas or those in poorer neighborhoods.
One of the very important requirements for the KIX EMAP Learning Cycle formation for the teams is the representation of all relevant stakeholders. In the case of Learning Cycle 2, the Maldives team was formed of government officials from the planning department at the Ministry of Education, as well as academia and research that was represented by Maldives National University and Islamic University of Maldives, in addition to school principals and local education authorities. This has resulted in a knowledge report that made all the difference.
This example from the Maldives reflects the ultimate expected results from the KIX EMAP learning cycles, in which the knowledge and policy recommendations developed by a national team are updated in the form of a new education policy or practice. In addition to these results, we also expect that participants from the KIX EMAP learning cycles acquire new knowledge and skills, identify policies or practices for addressing challenges in the education system, and build new relationships or strengthen existing relationships with actors from their own country, but also from other countries.
The knowledge report of Learning Cycle 2 highlighted lack of access to higher secondary education in some regions of the country. The findings and recommendations of this report facilitated policy change and policy uptake.
Rashuga igar baro fedunima algon membarang hama cheheye e malgo siamu parentung antun da haradu hama boduwan e member fan carry tibegen darin kiyumma ki hama komme miha pavsli wedi hama jahme
algon ki wow ke school ga A level emfurtam fettir ebech ke darivare Rashuga algon hure A level kiyawan ke fursat libumon algon ge kiyuma war baur hita dibigendia ehennunna algon ge visnamakan oti male badaluma A level kiyawan and male badal mai ko war baur gonje huntam skoi mative so ehuriha gonje huntake effarata ke dia Rashuga A level feshigendia hisaba Rashuga hure A level kiyuma ge sabon algon ge career war boda ehi tarika mel dibigendia Egotum mihar algon mi uleni rashkan sub ke wazifa ka kurimat lagin ade mi wazifa algon libem vestibeche mi ves eloge sobon algon libum fursate
algon A level fetti dehas 22 wanaharo den mihayo algon kiyamu midani grade 12 mi edo kiyuma libum mi de aharaki algondoge ane keriya medu visnan libum de aharu aslo adi mige turun algon wara shukuru eriwan mirashuga edo kiyumge fursat algon fahiviti sababaki ane algon hennoni jiheni ehen rashka hennoni member fan duru rattehina duru horegin edo kiyawan adi algon ekam mani wara ondu kamak algon dekeni member fan gaatu hure
ඒලව කියවම ෆුර්සත් ලිබුමකි අනේ එකමුගේ මෙන්ටල් බාටි අල්ගොඩ වර කුඩකම එහෙම අල්ගොඩ මශකුරු වෙරිවා
කියවදු කවසල් ගර ස්ග හැසත අලු දන්නවන් කියවදුග ඒලෙවෙල්ල කියවදැන් ෆෙෂම අමන්න වර බොඩි ෆෑදාතක රශුගේ නිස්බතු කොරාණ ඇතිකරම දේ එකතු මදාර අමි එෆෑදා කරුන් දන්නවානි අල්මගේ රශුග තිබෙගෙන් ආයිදා කීග තිබෙගෙන් දරිවරුණ කියමුග ෆොරසත් පහිරගෙන් දයාම එහෙනොන මෙවාගතුකි ඕලෙව නිමාෆ බයි දරිවරුන් මිජනි ඒලවෙල කියම රශන් බේරද ජහම්ග සෝබුන් රශුගේ දිරිවලේ ආබාධක තරෙන් කොම හරකොස් බය බයකුමි මදුවගමිල අන කමක බලාදාර යමගේ දරිවරුන් ඕලෙවෙල නිම්මාෆ කුරීග ඒලවෙල කියවෙන් නැතුම ගෙන දරිවරු ගෙන දරින්තක එබ කියවමුගේ නිසාමග තරෙන් නිකුමගේ දේ එන්නමස් ඒලවෙල කියවදෙන් ෆෙෂම් එඩිකේෂන් සිිස්ටම් තරේක ඒ දරිවරුන් හිෆෙහෙට්ටුඩීම කුෂි බෙවෙට්ට ශයරුන්ග ෆුසත් ගොඩ පොද්දේ
With education planners leading the way and technology as their ally, the future of education is brighter than ever before. Together, they are transforming the landscape of education in the Maldives, one school at a time.